What is going on, guys? My name is Michael and welcome back to another Ryz Media tutorial.
Need you to keep me close.
Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be going over keeping our projects organized, and I'm going to run through some of my own techniques, from putting stuff into bins to labeling to doing multiple sequences. Everything I go about keeping my project neat, I'm going to share with you guys today. So as you can see down here in the project panel, I've already added media to our project file. I've added some video, some sound effects, a song, and even some graphic overlays, just so that we have a bunch of stuff to work with and we can start organizing this stuff, put it in bins, label it, and make it look really nice and neat to start. So I have a bunch of stuff down here, and what I want to do to start is create some bins. So what I do is I come down to this little logo. It says new bin. I'm going to come up and I'm going to label this one video, enter. Then I'm going to come down, add another bin, label this one audio, come down, again, sound effects, another one, overlays. And you can name them whatever you want based on the clips or the media that you brought in, but this is what I do because generally I'll have video, audio, sound effects, and overlays all in separate panels. And now that I've created these bins, I want to start putting clips and audio inside the respective folders so that I can start getting nice and neat. So let's come up here, grab all of these overlays. So once we have all of them highlighted, we're going to drag them into the overlay bin, and we're nice and neat. Let's go to sound effects. By the way, I'm holding down Command on my Mac keyboard to get all of these at once. Drag them into sound effects. Okay, and now I have my videos. Drag them into video, and then one final song, drag it into audio. Okay, so here's my 4 bins right here. It's a lot neater, as you can see. I know where everything is. If I want to look at a video, just come down to the bin, hit the arrow, and I'll have all my clips here. Same thing for, anything else. So now that it's nice and neat, we can keep on and move forward. So the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to create a sequence. Come up to File, New, Sequence. And now this is where you're going to choose the settings for your timeline. And so I'm assuming that most of you are probably shooting on a DSLR, probably 1080, 24 or 30. Now what you can do is you can create a custom sequence, basically like I have down here. I have a custom for my Sony a7S II for 4K. Now the way to create a custom sequence is you're going to want to go to settings, and in this panel here you can change the frame size according to what you shoot on. You can change the frame rate, you can choose the editing mode, all that stuff, to customize it fully to whatever sequence you want. But for the sake of this, I'm just going to go to DSLR 1080-30 because that's most likely what most of you guys are probably using at this point. And for my main sequence, which is where I do all my cutting and my final movie, I call it main. Just so I know, like, that's my go-to, that's where I'm going to be putting all my stuff into, and that is where my final movie is going to be. So I'm going to press enter, and it's going to create a timeline based on those settings that I just put in. So now if you look in the project panel, you can see that it came up as a new layer here. And so what I do for all of my layers for sequences is I make a new bin for it, just like anything else. So I'm going to make a new bin, call it sequences, and then I'll drop my sequence into the sequence bin, just so that I stay organized and if I ever bring in new media, it's not in the way and I don't get confused. Alright, so now that we have our first sequence in, I'm actually going to make multiple sequences now because I find it to be a very, very good and easy way for me to keep track of all my clips individually. And what I mean by that is I want to keep my drone clips separate from my slow motion clips, separate from my action clips, and stuff like that. So Command N, that's going to bring up this panel, and you're going to want to make sure you choose the same sequence settings for all of your sequences, just so that it is consistent across the board. So I'm going to label this one drone and press enter. And now down here you see that it makes a new sequence next to main labeled drone. Also, it's going to create a new layer in your project panel So just drag that into sequence bin and you're all good to go. So now I'm going to do Command N again, create slow motion, enter, let's say hyperlapse or time lapses that I have, and I usually do one more for action. So now what I do after I put all of these into their sequences is I'm going to go through the video. Okay, so before I play it over here, I know already that this is going to be a slow motion clip because if I look at the frame rate, it's 120, which is going to enable me to do super slow-mo. So I know this clip is already going to go in my slow motion tab, but I want to do the best part of the clip, so I'm just going to scrub through real quick and find that. Okay, so once I find the part of the clip that I like, I'm going to go to the slow motion tab and drag and drop my clip into that tab. Now I'm going to keep existing settings, and this is important because it's basically telling me that this clip up here has different settings than what I set my sequence settings to. So I want to keep this the same because I want all of these to be consistent and I don't want to change this sequence in particular. So I'm going to press keep existing settings. Alright, I'm going to go back to the project panel, go to the next clip, and we can see right away that this is a drone clip. So I'm just going to pick the best part real quick. Okay, I'm going to go down to my drone tab, add in my clip, keep the same settings, go back, looks like we have a hyperlapse. So I'm going to put that into the hyperlapse bin. And then we have our last action clip. So now that we have our clips into their panels, we know where the drone shots are, we know where the slow motion is, hyperlapse, and action. So now I'm going to bring all of these into the main. So now I have all my clips into my main sequence, and at this point, I totally forget which one's a drone shot, which one's a hyperlapse, which one's my slow motion clip. So let's take a step back real quick. And if we go back to drone, what we can do to make sure we never forget, even when it goes in our main sequence, what type of shot it is we can color it. So if I want all my drone shots to be yellow, I right click, come up to label, go all the way down to yellow, and now my clip is yellow. And now I know all my yellow clips are going to be my drone shots. Come to slow motion. I want slow motion to be turquoise. Or I want it to be teal. They don't even have turquoise. Okay, so now my clip is teal. I know all my slow motion clips are going to be teal. Hyperlapse. I want it to be mango. Whatever colors float your boat. Green. I want green. Or action, I want green. I got ahead of myself right there. Okay, so now I have all my clips color corrected, or not color corrected, but color labeled. And so now when I go back into my sequence and put the clips back in, I know exactly which clip is what. Now I know my yellows are my drone shots. I know my teal is my slow motion. My orange is my hyperlapse, or mango is my hyperlapse, and my green is my action. So now I always know based on the colors that I label them. And this is very important when you're working with a massive project to know what clip is what just by looking at the color of the layer. And this is also helpful, the labeling for color, because it makes it super easy to space out your shots. You don't want too many hyperlapses or like action shots all together, and you want to space out your clips between drone to hyperlapse to slow motion, stuff like that. If you really want to space out your clips and make them different as they cut, it's very important to make them different colors so you can see how close or far they are away from one another. So now that you have all of your clips in separate sequences and they're all labeled by different colors, you know exactly where everything is. If you want a song, you know it's in this bin. If you want an overlay, you know it's there. You know where everything is right off the bat, and that's the beauty of staying neat and organized and labeling everything. I know I'm like a super neat freak when it comes to this, but I promise you guys, it literally cuts down so much time of your work because you know where everything is right away and you can get it super quick. So guys, that is all I have for you today. This is my go-to settings for sequences and labeling and stuff like that. But I really want to thank you guys for checking in again. Remember that we come out with tutorials every Thursdays and Saturdays, so please continue to keep a lookout for our YouTube page, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.